Hello, I'm Zachary Griggs, the ADP Practice Director here at DataBlend. I'm going to be taking you through at a high level some of the different use cases we like to focus on when it comes to ADP and just more broadly when we're working with different HRIS, HCM, payroll processing systems, anything in like the Office of HR or adjacent to the Office of Accounting. These are the types of functions that we often see and assist our customers and partners with. So with today's presentation, I'm going to focus on these down here. 10, 11, and 12 are really focused on ADP, and these are three primary use cases that come up. I'm using Sage Intacct as the core system that I'm connecting to, and I'm sending data in and out of Intacct. That is interchangeable, as I'm sure most of you know, with other systems. If that's different ERP systems, different timekeeping systems, if you're using a different HCM, maybe you're on Workday and you want to do onboarding there, and then you want that to pass through into ADP. Those types of use cases are all supported by DataBlend. As you know, it's just the ability for us to get access to the data, and then once we do, we can transform it, send it wherever it needs to go. We're very flexible as far as how we work with ADP, and so there's many endpoints and different areas of ADP that we can connect to. We can send data in and pull data out of ADP for many different use cases. These three are really popular ones for us. The creation of employees, and so you hire someone new and you're hiring them into ADP. They get set up with a worker profile. Once they do, you want to go and create them in Intacct, for instance. You might want to set them up as a user as well. For today, we're just going to send them through as employees. You can obviously schedule this job, have it set up to run, let's say nightly if you'd like, or you can come in here ad hoc and kick this off. Once you do, you can see my prior runs here, a little under 2 minutes. It's going to run through. Once that's done, I'm going to hop over here to my Intacct system. You're going to see, here's all my employees down at the bottom here. And this is going to keep those two systems up to date. And I can bring in whatever fields make sense. If you wanted to bring in some rate information, hire dates, home departments, different locations, whichever dimensions you're tracking by, all possible addresses, any data that exists. Our connection with ADP when it comes to worker information is quite robust. And so if you needed to pull anything over and have that synced with Intacct, you can. Right? So not a problem. I'm sending them in as employees, but for those of you that have worked with us when it comes to Intacct, as well as many other softwares, we can send that to wherever you need it to go. So you might be setting them up also as potentially vendors, and you want them to get set up in both places because you might have to do like disbursements through your accounts payable, and you want to do that through the AP module. We can send them there as well. So I'm going to hop back over into DataBlend. So in addition to employees and keeping those in sync, we're also able to handle not only the changes when it comes to addresses and phone numbers and names and so on, but terminations. And so if you wanted to inactivate employees and activate users based on actions being taken in ADP, not a problem. We can do that as well. But another example of a use case that comes up quite often is timesheets. It really goes both directions. When we work with ADP, we see a lot of customers and prospects that are using ADP as the timekeeping module, and then they send the time elsewhere, potentially into, let's say, an Intacct or an accounting system to do some type of reporting or allocation or costing in there. We see that commonly, but we also see the inverse direction. It's quite honestly an even split between the two, where you might be using like a QuickBooks Time or some other timekeeping software that's going to collect that data and then send it into ADP as well. So we are comfortable working with either direction with however you're using ADP in your timesheets. So in here, same concept as before, can be scheduled, can be run ad hoc, but if I kick this off, you're going to notice up top, it's going to run through. This one's a little bit quicker. You can see it only takes under 30 seconds to go through. I have a small amount of timesheets that I'm working with here just for demo purposes. And you can choose to have this create new timesheets if you wanted to also account for modifications as well. If you wanted to get creative with the time period that it posted, because maybe somebody made an adjustment after a pay period closed and you wanted to move it into the next, you can do that too. We can get really creative with the different dates and how things are posted. So you can see that finished up. So what if I hop over here to my next tab, you can see I had 9 timesheets. I'm just going to hit enter. and you're going to see a bunch more show up. I kept these really simple. You can see Amanda's timesheet here, really just one line, some hours thrown in there, and did a lot of driving for this project. We can bring it in by task, projects, billable, not billable, different time types, you name it. However you want that coded and tracked within the Intact system, we can support it. And as long as that data exists in ADP, we'd be able to pull that out and send it into Intact to whichever other software that you want that to go to. Not a problem. If you wanted it to also just go to stat accounts, for instance, for reporting, we could do that as well. So very flexible as far as how we work with that system. So if we go back to the dashboard, so the last one here is going to be the projects and jobs. So projects and jobs is really all encompassing. I'm using projects and jobs as one common one that comes up. We get a lot of situations where you have a robust team of employees. There is a fluid list of jobs that they're working on. They need to put time against those jobs. You can swap out the word jobs with, different grants potentially. It could be in different departments, different projects. These are really just all the different dimensions that you're tracking things by. And it doesn't have to just be time, but it can also be related to your payroll overall. You want to make sure that you're expensing down to the appropriate level of granularity. These are called labor charge fields most commonly on the ADP side. And it's really just dimensions. We're just tracking data. You can keep both systems in sync using DataBlend as well. So if you wanted to send those in to create them in ADP based on your accounting system, you might be on Intact, Acumatica, some other, let's say a Deltek product. You can go into those systems, create your different dimension values, maybe your new projects. The integration can go and create those on the ADP side. So you would simply kick that off. Again, you have the option if you wanted to schedule it or if you wanted to run it ad hoc. And then once you do, sorry, I thought I clicked that. There we go. Once you do, it'll then pass it through and create those codes within the ADP system. And for visibility, if you're not familiar with this type of functionality within ADP, I'm just logged into a demo instance of ADP, and you can go into, in this case, I'm in Workforce Now. This is their current gen, not their next gen. We work with both, but in here, if you go to setup and then labor charge fields, you can see we have quite a few that'll be set up. And then if you said, let's say went into jobs or projects, you'd see within here all the different projects and jobs being set up. And that's really contingent on your configuration within ADP and how you're tracking your data. Now, if you took it a step further, and let's say that you didn't track down to that level within ADP, but you still need to do allocations. You still need to know how your workforce is spending their time across different departments or cost centers or projects. The other option that we can assist with is not only the creation of the journal entry for payroll going into your accounting system. We can assist you with that, but we could take it a step further. If you wanted to apply additional allocations that you might not have within ADP, we can assist with that. We can do that in a number of different ways. You'll see here in this payroll entry allocation, I have the ability in here to allocate based on some values that I just put into a Google Sheet or I put into a SharePoint folder, something that I'm just collecting the data and referencing it, and then that'll run the allocation. That's one option. Another option that we have is that you can use different data points from your accounting system. So for instance, you might want to allocate cost of certain departments based on like a revenue share or a percentage of overall cost, something like that. And we're able to reference that data and apply the allocation either on the payroll entry going in to the accounting system or do an additional allocating entry after that. Both of those would be supported. Just to show you a little bit about how that would work is, let's say that we were creating the payroll journal entry within Intact pre-allocation. So I'm just sending in what's in ADP. I'm not using ADP to track down to the level of that I would like at the end of the day. I'd like to apply an additional layer of allocations after the fact. So what I'm going to do is simply take my payroll journal entry that I pulled down, let's say my register, my report from ADP. This is my payroll entry. Now, We can either support sending it just like I did, where I take a file and I send it into a dedicated inbox, and then it produces the payroll journal entry. That's one option. Another option is we connect directly to ADP and pull down that payroll file as well. Both of those will work, so it's really a preference thing. Once that file is sent, though, it's going to go through about 20, 30 seconds later. It's going to then kick off an integration, and it's going to go create my payroll journal entry, in this case within Intact. There you go. You can see once I refreshed, you can see I was already taking that action. Once this is done, what it's going to do is I'm going to go into my general ledger section, go to journals. We'll go to my PYRJ here. Here's all my journal entries coming through. And now if I go back over here, I have the ability to apply that allocation. So I'm going to use the Google Sheet approach, right? This is just very simple allocations that are in there. I'm going to simply hit run. What this is going to do is going to go find my current period payroll entry. It's going to then take my percentages that I have within my Google Sheet, and it's going to create an allocating entry of within Intact. So let's go back over here. This is the entry that got created. We can take a look. You can see relatively small workforce. Everybody, very simple entry so far. Nothing's coded down beyond location. So really simple. But now, if I leave this and we give this a second to finish, we're going to see a second entry show up with an Intact that'll then show those allocations and how we've applied them. You can make the logic of how we got to those allocations as complex as you'd like, and automate ideally as much of it as possible using DataBlend within this process. And you can see that just finished up. I'll come back over here, hit enter, and there's my allocation. So now I can hit view, and you'll see I am now allocating down to the various projects and going in and out of the same GL account for the expense. So just a quick example of how DataBlend can not only assist with the connection and movement of data in and out of ADP, but it also can enhance the process. It can automate the process further. It can take care of the allocation piece for you. It can take care of, if you wanted to, do user management when it comes to accessing Intact, accessing another system that you might want to maintain in an automated fashion that's tied to different terminations. So it's basically in real time for you. All of those are possible. In addition to that, the other common entry that comes up would be something like a payroll accrual. So you can take that month-end entry where you might be looking at your pay period that spans multiple months, and you want to automate that process because it's predictable. Your pay periods are predictable, and how that falls when it comes to a month is easily calculated by the integration tool, DataBlend, to go then create that accrual entry at month end. You can put it on a schedule so you don't even need to do it. And then you're just reviewing. You're not actually going in and taking that action. So just another option of another business case that comes up quite often when we talk about ADP and similar systems.